Hey, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about how as a software developer, there's testing and there's testing. Okay, so yesterday I had a situation where I completely lost my temper with a developer, right? And I want to tell you guys about it a little bit today because I'm still in disbelief. And I'm usually I'm pretty level-headed. Like, I understand that bugs happen. I understand that sometimes code takes longer than it should. Sometimes some developers are slower than others. I'm a software developer. I get all that. But I had this situation yesterday that I want to get your guys' opinion of. So we're trying out a new developer, right? Trying him out. I think we're done trying him out, really, to be honest with you. So we're trying out a new developer, and he's not really senior, you know, although he has some experience. He wasn't, you know, it's not his first project. And I gave him a little task. We have an existing application. I said, okay, so basically we just need a pop-up on this app. So could you just work on that, right? So he goes, okay, so how long do you think that'll take you? He says 6 hours. I thought, 6 hours for a pop-up? Okay, let's see what you can do, whatever. Maybe he's gonna really test it. You know, let's see how this goes, right? So the next day, I chase him on it. So where are we with that pop-up? He goes, oh, it's in Git. So I download the code and I run it, and the pop-up works. So, you know, no big deal. It was simple enough to do anyway. But I noticed none of the data from the application is loading. So I say, so am I doing something wrong with this build process? Because while the pop-up's working, the data's not loading. And he says, yeah, I noticed that too. He says, I think that's on the server though. I think it's on the back end, you know, on the API. So I was like, and then I stopped and I said, wait a second. If the data's not loading, how can you test that your change is not actually breaking something? And he said, well, that's what the QA is for, right? And then that's when I lost it. I lost it because I thought, wait a second. You're charging me 6 hours for this and you didn't even test it. Right? And he says, I tested it. The bit I worked on is working. It's the server. So I load up the previous version. It loads the data. Load up the other platform version. That loads the data. And I just completely lost it. I said, are you saying that you did this work, you didn't even run it on a device to test it, or the testing didn't even pass the test because something else is broken, but that's not your responsibility? And he said, and then he used the typical, well, I didn't have enough time for testing. And I said, there's testing and there's testing, right? Every developer tests. Every developer runs their code to make sure it works. And it's not just developers, a mechanic. If you go see a mechanic about a noise in your engine and he thinks he's fixed it, he still starts up the engine to make sure it works. I said, the QA will test every single platform. They'll check every single bit of advice. They'll run it on all the different devices and do a thorough testing. But as a developer, you didn't even run it, or it didn't even pass the test, and I completely lost it. I lost it so much that I had to like leave the desk, right? So I had to leave my office. I leave the office and go for a drive because I thought, you know, that was it. So if you're ever hiring a developer, always give them a small project. Always give them something to go on first, right? I shouldn't have lost my cool so much because we were just trying them out, and you know, it was a successful test, but it does add another day onto the project. And it was even a day. I mean, it was the kind of thing where I could have done it in an hour if I had, you know, learned how to do it at the same time. So it was ridiculous, and I completely lost it. Sometimes when you hire a developer, you get really bad guys, right? It's just, that's the nature of the fact. You could do all the preliminary interviews. They could have like a really good resume. And when you get into the problem-solving skills, you just think they're lazy and undisciplined. And it's a small percentage, by the way. It's not like everybody. It was almost like I was in disbelief of this kind of thing. So have you ever run into a situation like this? Have you ever hired somebody and you realize that this guy, you know, every developer, even if you don't run it on a physical device, you run it on a testing device. If you see something else is not working, you kind of have to think, is the change I'm making, has the change I'm making broken this? And in this situation, it should. He signed it off as done. That's another thing. As a developer, when you say done, you have to make sure it's done, right? It's nothing more embarrassing than saying, this is done, and having somebody saying, actually, no, it's not, because the other thing's not working. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. I want to talk about the good things and the bad things, and today, kind of one of the bad things. So anyway, that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.